Hey everyone, it is that time of year. We have finally reached VCT Ascension Pacific, and we're gonna give you a little preview of what's coming up. But first up, I'm Victoria, and I'm with these two lovely gentlemen. Once again, we are reunited together. Yeah. Maybe introduce yourselves.
Hi guys, I'm Quack. I'm not wearing pink today.
You're not wearing pink. Hi, my name is Will. I am wearing pink, and then of course, we were all here for VCT Pacific, both on the desk and on the cast throughout 2023.
It's the first time we did Pacific together, first time Pacific existed, and that was a really exciting season, but I think Ascension, we're really looking forward to that. We see a lot of potential here. One of the winning teams could be in the league next year.
Yeah, I mean, this is now looking forward, right? We got to kick off VCT Pacific for 2023. Exciting, we sent teams to Masters going on. But now we're looking at how is this gonna look in the future? How will it grow in the future? And we could potentially get some new challenges that maybe push the level even higher for VCT Pacific.
Challengers, there's so many like underrated talents and players that we don't often get the highlights on.
No, what's really cool is that Ascension includes regions that we haven't seen play in Pacific at all, including Hong Kong, Taiwan, Vietnam.
Yeah, and then Oceania, right? Of course, we had a player from Oceania, but not a team that was representing the entire region.
Will, how did we get here?
Basically what happened is every region was given their own Challengers League, right? So we've got 10 regions here in Pacific that are vying for a spot to get into the league in the future. So across the 10 regions, each of them had their own Challengers League, consisting of 2 different splits, and 1 team from each region came as a representative, right? So they basically won their finals overall, got enough points, and now they're here. They will be competing in a 10-team tournament in Bangkok, Thailand, and only 1 team out of those 10 will then have a chance to enter VCT Pacific. So there's a lot of steps here, but it's also a huge opportunity if you can get to the top.
And I think it's going to be really exciting for these teams in particular. A couple of the regions got to do an offline tournament, but Bangkok, it's going to be in front of a live audience. So I think they're going to get that full VCT experience. What are you looking forward to?
I mean, first of all, Thailand, I think a huge VALORANT presence there, a lot of fans, but also just to see how this entire Pacific region, we get that melting pot going, because we have so many different cultures, so many different styles of VALORANT, so many different languages. When you have that all bashed together, you can expect some chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me personally, I've never been to Thailand, so getting to see a tournament live there in front of fans, and again, just to have this moment where we can really celebrate VALORANT all together, but then also there's so much at stake, right? So I think it's gonna be a great tournament.
Only 1 team, oh my God. I think we should take some time to kind of go through the teams that will be representing some of these sub-regions. And starting things off, I mean, this is gonna be held in Bangkok, Thailand. We're gonna have Zersha Esports representing the home ground. And playing in front of that home crowd, they're definitely gonna have that buff.
We also have Vietnam's Fancy United Esports.
And then of course, Malaysia and Singapore, already huge representation in VCT Pacific, and this time it's going to be Bleed Esports representing that region.
And then for Korea, we're gonna have D+.
Scars from Japan.
And probably a region that most people aren't that familiar with. It's going to be 1 team representing Hong Kong and Taiwan.
And for a team that I think more people are familiar with, it's gonna be Naos Esports from the Philippines.
And another team, I think we're very familiar with them, from Indonesia, Boom Esports.
And of course, a region that has had a lot of fandom and now getting a chance to enter the spotlight is going to be Oceania, represented by Bonkers.
And representing South Asia and India, we got Orangutan. Let's break down some of these teams now. Zersha honestly wasn't the team we thought would be here at Ascension. They weren't the guys everyone was predicting.
Yeah, but I think that again just goes to show that this region is very strong, it's very stacked, right? If you haven't been following, maybe you're just kind of surprised. You've been hearing people say, well, we thought maybe it would be Team A or Team B, and then now you're seeing Zersha and you're like, okay, what's going on here? But that just proves, I mean, that's just how deep the player pool is, that's just how big VALORANT is here for this region. And let's not forget, coincidentally, it used to actually be Zersha who always represented Thailand internationally, but they've always had international representation in VCT so far.
But if you think about how Zersha actually got to this spot in the first place, during the group stage, it was Myth who was dominating. Zersha was tied with like 4 other teams.
Yeah, a lot of you guys are gonna be familiar with that name, right? And the region of Thailand because of the current roster on Talon. That used to be the core over there. And then, of course, that roster has now joined Talon. They're already represented in VCT Pacific. So it's a brand new roster. It's a brand new 5 players that if you haven't been following closely, you're not going to be as familiar with. But now they're vying for a chance to say, hey, we can also represent Thailand in VCT Pacific.
Now, there are 2 players. Let's talk about some of the Zersha guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can start with Zersha, right? Spelled out XZE. Just had some great performances, and I think, again, maybe vying for a chance to say, hey, Pacific continues to have these great controllers, because that's the role he plays as well.
I mean, that's one thing that's really interesting to me, because the way that this team functions, they might swap roles around depending on the map, first of all. Second of all, Zersha had one of the highest clutches in the entire Challenges Thailand group stage.
I'm really looking forward to Zersha playing on home ground. I think it's going to be insane.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is that, again, it is home ground. You should have that home crowd advantage. Sometimes it adds a lot more pressure than it's meant to, but it's going to be very exciting for them.
You're talking about pressure. I think it's just going to fire them up.
Oh, yeah? More. They're just going to feed off of it? I mean, you'd love to see it. Next, I want to talk about a region that actually doesn't have their own representation yet in VCT Pacific. It's going to be Vietnam, represented by Fancy United Esports. And this is another region that I think, clearly has been growing a lot, has a lot of fandom, and has had players that perform, but they just haven't really been able to break through into that international level just yet.
I mean, honestly, I wonder if it's because they have the most unusual comps. The fact that they got here with no duelist on bind is mind-blowing. We saw Chamber come out.
This is before the buffs, right? Because the buffs just came through, but this is before the buffs.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big fan just because they play a lot of Gecko. They've been playing the Yoru here and there, and I'm all for off-the-wall comps.
I think this is going to be really exciting. According to a lot of the other teams that they scrim with, that they are tough. They're actually really tough to go up against. I think their unusual comps, a lot of the strats that they've been trying to attempt are unusual. I think as a spectator, for us, it's really exciting because this is what we want in VALORANT. We want to see things, get mixed up. We don't want to see like textbook VALORANT all the time.
Definitely not. I mean, remember when we used to see Forsaken Yoru on bind?
Yeah.
But guess what? This team has a Yoru player, and his name is Nizzy.
Yeah, Nizzy. And then it's not on bind either, right? It's not on some of the maps that we're used to.
What?
Exactly. As the only duelist, right? They're playing Chamber Gecko and then Yoru in that composition. Very weird, very unique. Because of that alone, I'm a big fan of Nizzy already, all right? I'm going into this rooting for Nizzy to have at least some highlight clips. But again, they have their own interpretation of VALORANT. And another team that we've seen do that in Pacific was Paper X. They made it work. If you're comfortable in that own style, you could reach the top.
That's exactly what it's about, because if you can kind of get creative with some of these comps and show us things that we haven't really seen before, that's going to be super fun and interesting to watch. And I mean, Vietnam as an entire region, it's just, I think back to like APAC Stage 2 in 2022, 2021. We've seen these names before. It's just that maybe they don't really make it through to that Pacific stage, but this could be their chance.
And Vietnam must be so hungry for the spot right now. The live finals was insane. There were so many people there. It was packed, full house, people cheering on, the final 2 teams.
And now I think it's a good time to talk about the region that we kind of come from, Singapore, Malaysia. We've got Bleed Esports, and this is a really strong team. They didn't really drop that much at all. They only lost like 1 match throughout the entire Split 1 and Split 2 of Challengers SGMY.
The roster is really interesting. We were just talking about Thai players being kind of sprinkled everywhere. They have a Thai player on their team, a Vietnamese player.
Familiar Thai player.
Yeah, scary, right? I mean, he's made waves across, even on international stages already. And I think that's a player that, if you're just a fan who's been following kind of the international scene, maybe you're like, okay, he seems pretty good, but how strong could he really be? I mean, he's strong enough that like every Pacific team fears this guy. I still remember last year there was a comms video from Paper Rex, and they were playing them in the finals, and it was Scary left alive, and they were trying to calm each other down, being like, we never know because it's Scary. Like, he could clutch this like 1v5. That's just how strong he is. But on top of that, there's Darion as well, who's been a player that entire region has been looking at as a rising star.
I think for Bleed, they kind of started off having Darren as their part of their core roster, and he started out as this jet duelist, but now has freed up a lot more space to go into this sentinel role. But you can still see and feel those duelist tendencies. I mean, sometimes he goes with the chamber on bind, which is really interesting, and his stats kind of prove it as well. A lot of first kills coming out from this guy.
I have to ask you guys, our greatest, most famous controller from Pacific is currently Mako. How do you think Scary would do against the Mako controller
Okay, so yours is gonna be the smaller because you don't want me to say. Listen. I think Scary can absolutely match Mako, but in a very different way.
Okay.
I think Scary, and this is maybe just team style, but I think Scary is that player who is enabled to be proactive, and I think he's a very good proactive controller, and that it has been proven before as well. He's shown a lot of new tech whenever he's playing controller on his old rosters, even at international tournaments. A lot of people learn from him. Whereas Mako, sturdy as a rock, but sometimes I think if you really want to be that top team, really become that champion, you gotta have someone who can really be a proactive person who's creating these curveballs from the back line, and I think Scary's that guy.
D+ is probably one of the most experienced teams in Ascension right now.
Yeah.
A lot of them are ex-teammates or have been involved with, our well-known guys, DRX.
Yeah, I mean, let's just look at the roster and the experience they've had internationally, right? You've got Lakia. Everyone knows the Lakia moment, the Lakia clutch on Ascent. And then you've got Allow as well from that old New Turn squad. Their coaching staff, also Solium Perry, also from that old New Turn squad. And then you've got Esperanza, who played at Masters Berlin with F4Q. I mean, you've got a really stacked team here in terms of pure Korean talent.
It's very, I guess, famous, right? But at the same time, you have to think about their play style and how they go for these kind of moments. They're very careful.
But they really wait till the nth hour before going in and putting that spike down.
Yeah,
it's
we
very
joked
methodical.
about this with the Japanese teams during VCT Pacific being slow. I mean, this team also kind of matches that standard, and it's kind of a carryover from the old New Turn style. They also used to run the clock down so much. So again, the question is can that style work for them, or especially as the meta continues to develop, is it going to get broken down by some of these crazy comps or crazy aggression that's coming out from the other regions? I'm curious to see. Now, one other thing I want to mention is they've also picked up Wenti, another rising star in Korea, as kind of this duelist and operator player. Curious to see. He played one match during Challenges Korea Split 2, but if they continue to slot him in on different maps, maybe they can make this whole six-man structure work as well.
It's an option at least, but I think with so many talented players, such a stacked roster, it goes without a doubt that they really want this slot, to join their Korean brethren in Pacific.
I want to talk about Japan, right? A region that has definitely been growing, has had explosive support for VALORANT. I mean, we're seeing it at Masters Tokyo as well. Even without a Japanese team representation, the fans are there just to watch the best VALORANT.
Just the best crowd.
Exactly, and it would mean so much for them to have an extra team represent their region, and this time it's going to be Scars who has that shot.
Scars was another surprise, I think. They had a really strong teams. Jadeite, I think a lot of us were expecting Jadeite to actually be in their place, but it's Scars. I think they have their very own something on their team. Jemkin from Russia, who's just been an insane duelist.
It's really interesting because they're one of the other teams that plays a double duelist composition. And think about how they play off of that aggression. Jemkin is one of those players who has so many first kills and incredibly high ACS. Just in that grand finals alone against Jadeite, he racked up over 100 kills.
While, like you mentioned, a lot of people suspected maybe it would be Jadeite, maybe even household names like Crazy Raccoon or Fennel that would represent Japan, still, I think it's maybe good news for the region that a somewhat aggressive team is now trying to evolve, VALORANT in Japan and have that extra representation in VCT Pacific. The big question is can they stand up to the aggression that we've seen other regions already have for the past 3 years of
Go
VALORANT?
even more aggressive.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see, but I mean, you can't deny that the support is going to be there. I mean, Japanese fans will always show up for any matches that any of their teams ever play in.
Just how crazy that match was. The fourth map on Ascent actually went overtime, and Split was so competitive, it kind of went back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, Jadeite was really trying to get that reverse sweep going. Eventually, they're not able to make it happen. But that entire playoffs for Japan was close all throughout. I mean, quite frankly, Jadeite actually beat Scars in the upper bracket finals. Scars come back for the revenge. There's a lot of storyline here and a lot of competition going on in Challengers Japan. So if you missed it, definitely check out the grand finals to get ready for Ascension.
We don't get to see too often. This is Hong Kong, Taiwan. We've got one team.
Yeah, I'll be honest, not a team or region that I had too much focus on until, of course, this year and now building up to Ascension. But it is worth mentioning, I mean, this region, they have made surprises in the past in various different games. It's very clear that they're passionate and that they have some infrastructure. It's just that they tend to be a little bit isolated and they don't tend to have as many chances, but Ascension is going to be one of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best part about Challengers and Ascension. We can finally get exposure to these other regions we otherwise haven't seen yet.
just based off what we have, like the way that they performed in playoffs, Zayus was one of those guys who just, you talked about the stats, but he was also really aggressive, getting some first picks. And I think they had like a run back against a team that they actually knocked down into the lower finals, and then it came back against them, and they still beat them. I think it was a 3-0. That's a really big statement.
Interesting to note, for one team, it's a full Taiwanese roster, and I do know the Taiwanese crowd in general, when they become fans of something, they're also extremely passionate, so it's gonna be really fun over there. Okay, speaking of passionate fandom, Philippines, I don't even care what game, what sport it is. If you're a Philippines team, they've got your back. They're such a fun, passionate crowd. And two teams that we were really looking at were both Oasis, and the winner, of course, Naos.
Yeah, and you could tell just if you watch the grand finals as well. I mean, people were just trying to make sure they can stay and watch the entire thing. And it happened to go pretty long, right? It goes all the way to map 5. So a very close match, and I think probably something that the Philippines fans really wanted.
I mean, for sure. You think about Naos and Oasis, like big rivals, and maybe even contrasting stylistic plays that come in. And you think about how Naos actually performs, having that a little bit more structure compared to Oasis, just because they have Wits as the IGL. This guy we're familiar with, he's from Team Secret, but now on to Naos, and he's actually kind of taken a step back. He might have been like more aggressive when he was on Secret, but now he's playing like Sentinel roles and that sort of thing.
Yeah, he's still a very aggressive Sentinel, though, to be fair.
For a Sentinel, yeah, for sure. The DNA doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. But the fact that he's trying to really kind of be that kind of commander role, right, the leader role for the team, I think that is something that has helped upgrade, right, this team and the region, perhaps.
There's also a controller here that we've got our eyes on, Papi Chulo.
Yeah, I mean, another control. Quite frankly, I'm starting to think maybe Ascension is the tournament for controllers, right, in this region. Papi Chulo, I mean, he's putting up clutches, he's putting up numbers for this team, and we've talked about it during VCT Pacific as well. It helps so much when you have a backline that you can really rely on. Papi Chulo's that guy here for Naos.
You need that backbone. You think about how important controllers are with your smokes, and you need to stay alive long enough to make that happen. At the same time, if you're the last guy left alive, you come up with those big clutches. This is what it's all about. Papi Chulo.
Now, we can't not talk about this region when we're talking about Pacific overall. It's going to be Indonesia, being represented by Boom Esports. Now, Boom, I gotta say, probably a lot of people remember them as the team that got commissioned the accident on Fracture, right? Yeah. Five players on the ropes. But that also means that they were a team who has had international experience. They still retain 3 of their players from that match against Optic. It's going to be Berserks, Blaze King, and Famous.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are the core. I think some of them have been on the team for such a long time. If you think about Paper X Mindfreak, he used to be on Boom in previous games as well. There's just so much history and so much talent in this region overall. And you think about how the game actually played off as well. I mean, Dominatus versus Boom Esports.
I think that's also the fun part, right? Is that Dominatus was not a team that a lot of people predicted to even get to the grand finals, but it goes to show how competitive that region was. Alter Ego's another household name. Boom, able to still close it out in the end. They're going to be representing Indonesia. How much would it mean for Indonesia to say, okay, Boom's re-entering, right? Indonesia is continuing to build Valorant as kind of this prime esport, and a lot of the upcoming players can now say, okay, we can represent our own region and team here in VCT Pacific.
Well, yes, talking about the grand finals, Boom Esports were that team to shut down Dominatus, and one of the ways they did that was through their duelist player, and that's going to be Famous.
I actually wonder if he has the record for most first bloods, because this guy had 23 first kills in the grand finals.
Yeah, 23 is a lot, right? Also, that just means that he's finding those first duels, and then he's winning. So you're kind of, 23 of those rounds, you started with a 5v4. Like, think about it that way, and he's responsible for it. Absolutely insane stat.
When you put it that way, yeah, this is a team to look out for sure. All right, well, I think now it's time to talk about, a region that we don't get to see too often again. It's going to be from Oceania. We've got Bonkers.
Not a lot of opportunities, just in general, in any genre, in any title. And now in Valorant, they have this chance to get to Ascension, to maybe get into VCT Pacific. And we saw the support that Ronsky had when he got stage time on Global Esports, right? Oceania fans were just cheering him on, just to even get, one more highlight, whatever it could be, to get that representation. Yeah. If you now have a whole team to represent that region, that'd be very hype.
And I just remember how they played back on APAC LCQ last year. I mean, that's where Ronsky really got his shining. And when you look at Bonkers now, they've got so much talent, and it's really possible for them to make a deep run. I mean, some of these players, Minimize, he's been around the scene for a long time.
But their playstyle is very interesting. Dragon, for example, 3 different roles. He played Raze, Gecko, and one more.
Killjoy.
And Killjoy.
Very different, right?
Yeah, that's like such a range. I mean, we've seen it before with Forsaken and players from other regions, but I think they're going to be really fun to watch. We saw over in Pacific with Global Esports, the moment SK Rossi landed, we saw one of the biggest fan bases pile in to Pacific viewership. So the fandom there is really big in India. Orangutan is now representing them.
This is a squad. They brought over the core roster of Enigma Gaming from last year. They added in a new player, Aziz, and it's been working out great. I mean, they are undefeated so far in 2023. They've made it, to the winning spot of Split 1 and Split 2, now representing the entire region of South Asia in Ascension.
I mean, they're great. I've been told Aziz is really funny. He's got some great micro adjustments with his aim. And then you think about a player like Tesseract as well, who's got great spatial awareness on the initiator role, and he performs so well. This team has potential. Looking at the way that they actually performed throughout both splits and in their playoffs as well, they don't really drop that much.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note that you talked about the fandom. Of course, that's a huge part as well for South Asia. But also, we've heard SK Rossi talk so much about just what it means, right, for him and the region to get these chances to show that it's possible, right, to enter the next level of esports in a game like VALORANT. I think this is one of those opportunities, right? Whether they win or not, obviously it'd be great if they do. But simply, again, getting to play against these other regions, show what they're made of. They're going to have a lot of following and support from their fans, and hopefully they can live up to that kind of wave and momentum.
Let's talk about the actual format of Ascension itself. It's going to be a really intense 2 weeks single round robin, which I think is going to be really fun.
I mean, 10 teams, right, into 2 groups, and then only the top 3 from each of those groups will then move on into playoffs, which we should note is going to be single elim, right? We have to get through these matches. We have one shot to get through that playoffs, 16 playoffs, and then one winner will be crowned.
One mistake could be fatal, and then of course, the grand finals, best of 5 in front of a big crowd. The winner of that, they're crowned, but they get to go to VCT Pacific.
Yeah, and I think that's the big part, right, is that some of these regions, some of them haven't had a chance to be represented in VCT Pacific yet, some of them do, but to have that increased slot, right, I think it would mean a lot, not just for the players, but upcoming players as well, and the fandom, to see what's possible and to really create a greater path here to that pro level, to the very top level of VCT Pacific. We already saw it during 2023, right? Even, all these regions, Korea, Japan, even Southeast Asia, all these teams now seeing what's possible and these players really having that chance. I mean, Global Esports is a great example of that.
No VCT content is complete without caster prediction.
Oh, it's my favorite part.
and today's the best because you got the best predictors in all of VCT Pacific.
Listen, we've got the most consistent, okay? Most consistent. It at least means something, all right?
What are, the top 2 teams that you think are going to make it to grand finals, and who do you think is going to take it home?
My first team in the finals, I think Bleed. I don't think that's any surprise, right, with a roster like that, and they've proven it again. They've been in APAC LCQ last year as well. No surprise there. But my other team, I'm gonna go a little off the wall here. I'm gonna pick Zersha, and I think just because for a lot of these teams, you don't have that much stage experience, you don't have that much international experience. Playing in front of your home crowd, right? This is a setting that you're used to. I think that's gonna mean a lot, and I think Zersha can really ride that momentum all the way to the end. However, I have Bleed taking it, and Bleed wins Ascension.
My grand finalists would be, Boom Esports, possibly. And then I want to see Scars.
I think that's a strong choice. I think they're a bit of this curveball from Japan, right? So who do you have winning it, though?
Well, I think between these two, just because of how strong some of the Scars players could be, I'm going to go that way. And, just let's see what happens.
Cooking.
I'm still cooking, but with analysis. Because we were talking about some of these players, right? And the Russian players that we have on Scars, they can really perform that well. And when you match them up against a team like, Bleed, maybe Boom, It could go so many different ways. We just have to see how they actually perform first.
All right. Well, the highest prediction rate
okay, here
of
we go.
playoffs
Here
of
we go.
VCT Pacific.
That's right. That's right. That's me.
The truth. Now we wait for the truth, all right? We had all the cooking and then now the truth.
It's so hard to predict this. You guys know that. I agree with you. I think Boom's going to be one of the last two. The other, I think it's going to be Naus. Both of these regions are the strongest, I think, in this pool here.
That's true.
But I think it's going to be Boom that wins because just simply, experience-wise, and they've just been on the international stage so many times already. I think it's probably about time. Well, that about wraps it up for the preview. Tell the fans, where can we watch VCT Ascension and when? Go.
Okay, he doesn't know.
Wrong,
you guys
go.
can catch VCT Ascension Pacific on all the VCT Pacific channels that you're used to. And of course, it starts on...
June 28th. June 28th. I got
Till?
it. Till July 9th.
Yes, the finals will be on July 9th. We're all going to be there. I can't wait to meet the fans in person, but also just bring you guys all these matches online as well.
Well, it's been good. It's been good hanging with you guys here in Korea. I'm going to see you guys next time in Bangkok. I'm going to see the rest of you guys in Bangkok. We're really excited for VCT Ascension. This is going to mean a lot to any of these 10 teams. Remember, the one that makes it through has a chance to join the rest of the league over in Korea.
See you in Bangkok.
See you in Bangkok. See you in Bangkok.
Steady blazing.